Hi, this is John Madden sitting in my hotel room in the Hampton Inn in Victoria, Ciudad Victoria, Tamaulipas State, Mexico. And I'm going down memory lane this morning. I've been traveling for 3 years nonstop, and that kind of travel can get kind of chaotic because you're never in the same place. And traveling in a camper van has its own brand of chaos because there's no place to put anything. It's just one big cabin, no spare room, no drawers, no cupboards. So there has been a kind of chaos. And my life, I'm not a good detail person, so my life always has had a certain measure of chaos, more so than some people's lives. 2 years ago on the road, I stumbled in my iCloud onto a poem I had written several years before. And I got excited about it and wrote an intro for it that it by itself is quite interesting. And then I lost track of it all over again. And just yesterday or the day before, part of the reason is that I don't have a computer. If you have a computer looking at the, not the iCloud, the Google Drive, looking at the Google Drive files in a computer is all different. You can see different things, different layers. You can organize it more easily. Just doing it from an iPhone, it's really hard to see the whole tree. You really can't. And you're stumbling around looking for files. So that's part of why this file keeps getting lost. But it's here again. So yesterday or the day before, I found the poem itself. And the poem is titled Heaven Help Us. And I think I had a genuine experience in my day where I said, yeah, I did. I found it on a video I made a couple days ago where I said, Heaven help us. I went, wait a minute, I wrote a poem like that, didn't I? So I dug around in the Google Cloud and found the poem and the intro. So I'm going to do the intro, which was written about a year ago after being on the road already for 2 years. Over the course of 2 years of nonstop travel, I have let go of a lot. For starters, I have let go of almost everything I owned 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure I have nothing in my current van that I had with me when I left my apartment in Asheville, North Carolina 2 years ago. I also don't have the laptop that I took with me from that apartment. It was stolen with my little Suzuki SUV when I left it on a mountaintop north of Bakersville to take my new camper van into Asheville. A couple of locals had reassured me that it would never be noticed up there. The Appalachian Trail, they said to me, the Appalachian Trail runs through there. That's national parks land, and it is only patrolled by park rangers, who only make it there every couple of weeks. They're used to hikers leaving their cars there for long periods of time. No one will bother it. Be careful when people give you advice. Don't trust advice from strangers, even if they're well intended. Oh, and that's what I say here. Be careful of the advice you get from country people. I broaden it beyond country people. It is seldom maliciously wrong, but it is often imperfect. Just down the road a bit may mean 20 miles, that's for sure. That spot was checked on every day by the local county sheriff deputies. When, after a few days, the deputy posted a notice on my car that it was due to be towed, I believe that some resourceful locals said to themselves, no one is paying attention to this car. I think God just gave it to me. I don't have the phone I was using then. I do have the same Apple iCloud, which holds photos and videos from before I left Asheville. I still have the same name, Majo John Madden, but even that keeps going through changes. In Asheville for 16 years, everyone knew me as Majo. If I or somebody mentioned John or John Madden, pretty much nobody knew who you were talking about. In deep Appalachia, the high mountains of western North Carolina, where my little dog Poncho and I spent our first year of the COVID, Those good country people could not get their hands around the name Majo, and I pretty much went back to introducing myself as John. In my hometown of Chicago, where I spent 6 very happy weeks last fall, the fall of 21, my old friends and family all know me as John. But the Majo name still means a lot to me, representing all the creative and personal and spiritual changes I went through in Asheville over 16 years. So these days I use the name Majo John Madden a lot. When I want to help people find me on the internet, I tell them to enter Majo John Madden. If you enter just John Madden, I'll tell them, you will get 8 pages of that football guy. If you enter Majo John Madden, you will get some of that guy and some of me. This morning, having just given that instruction to someone from a newspaper, I decided it was time for me to check once again who I am these days. When I entered Majo John Madden on Google a couple hours ago, I found the usual stuff. But many entries down, here's the hook, I hadn't even read this. But many entries down, I found a very intriguing entry on Google for a poem of mine called Heaven Help Me, for which I had no memory at all. And a year later, I had no memory of having written this. It turned out to be a video. Oh, this is great. Okay. It turned out to be a video that my roommate at the time, a wonderful woman named Patty Dallas, videotaped at Jubilee, where I used to go to church, and posted to YouTube. I'm sure I've seen it once, but probably not for the 6 years since it was first shot. That's a whole separate thing. Because I have recently been stirring up all kinds of surahs for Jubilee, that church where I used to go, and I was, and have continued to, it makes sense for me to post it today. Maybe some of my old Jubilee friends who over the last few days have decided that I've gone totally to the dark side, which they did, will be inspired to remember that I'm still kind of complicated. And then I give a link. So, that's the intro to the poem. I specialize in intros to my poems. But at Jubilee, the bogey was you had 4 minutes. You had a 4-minute window to fill. And I frequently went over, and Howard the minister didn't mind because people loved my poetry so much. But one day, Jay, the assistant minister, came. There's 2 services, about 300 people at each service. After the first service, Jay comes up to me, one of the assistant ministers, and says, you know, the amount of time you used for that poem in the first service? I said, yeah, it went kind of long, didn't it? He says, well, the intro was 7 minutes. So I'm not good with details. Okay, thank you.